Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Thursday. Hope you're doing well, whether you're watching or listening to this around the world. As always, thank you very much for joining me. I really do appreciate it on the morning after Arsenal's thumping 3-1 win against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. 5 wins from 5 from Mikel Arteta's side in the Champions League. The only side to now have a 100% record in the competition. And that was a statement. If you're going to make a statement, go and beat arguably the side that many believe to be the best in Europe right now. And Arsenal didn't just beat them, they absolutely blew them away yesterday in that second half. Thoroughly dominant performance, absolutely deserved win. Bayern Munich going home with their tails between their legs a little bit. First of all, I'm not very well at the moment. Apologies. So this is a little bit later than normal. I've been trying to G myself up to do it, but I went to the game last night. I was kind of feeling ill during the day yesterday, and like this overnight last night when I got home this morning, I'm just really struggling. Proper man flu. So yeah, as you can imagine, not getting much sympathy at home. But I really wanted to come on and do the show. So apologies for the voice and all like that. And to my Patreon members, the Arsenal press pass was going to be recorded today, but I'm going to knock that on the head today. We're going to record that tomorrow morning instead. So it is still coming this week, but it's going to be tomorrow morning. I'm just not sure I can face it like an hour long show of talking today, because I'm not sure my throat will stand up to it. But let's talk anyway about last night's game. And it was just brilliant. It was brilliant. I was worried before the game because, look, Bayern Munich were really good. And so I was worried. I was intrigued to see how Arsenal were going to approach it, how Arteta was going to approach it, how the players were going to cope and deal with this Bayern Munich side, who we saw so impressively beat PSG in the last round of fixtures. You know, when it was 11-on-11, I know they didn't have Luis Diaz last night, who's been integral to them, but when they were 11-on-11 at PSG, they were brilliant in that first half, and then they held on very well in the second half. I was intrigued to see how Arsenal handled it. I thought it was a thoroughly professional performance yesterday. First half was a bit cagey. It was two teams kind of feeling each other out. I think at halftime, 1-1 was probably a fair reflection of what we've seen in that first 45 minutes. Arsenal scoring from a set piece, brilliant ball by Bukayo Saka, lovely header from Timber, and then Bayern Munich equalising, brilliant goal. Yes, Lewis Skelly was caught out, but the pass from Kimmich and the first time ball from Gnabry were absolutely world class. You know, sometimes you got to hold your hands up and say, yeah, you probably could have defended that better, but it was the move was executed so well that you got to sort of praise Bayern Munich for that goal. And like I said, 1-1 I thought was probably a fair reflection of that first half. It was really even when you looked at the stats at halftime. You know, pretty much it was paper thin between the two sides. The second half, though, Arsenal's performance was absolutely brilliant. As I said, they blew Bayern away. Bayern just could not handle them on all levels last night. The way they played, the way they moved the ball around, how threatening they were from set piece situations when they got them, what they were doing from open play, the movement, the subs coming on and making such a big difference. I just thought that second 45 minutes against a team as good as Bayern, after a really demanding North London derby, emotionally and mentally at the weekend, I thought it was a fabulous performance from Arsenal in that second half, and they absolutely deserved to win that game, probably more comfortably than they actually did. Brilliant moment from Madueke, obviously superb from Calafiori, first touch basically after coming on in the second half to get to the byline, whip that ball across, and great for Madueke to score his first Arsenal goal. What better way to do that? He said it afterwards in his interview. It's just the perfect time to do that. And then brilliant from Eze to set Martinelli 3. And I mean, Manuel Neuer, he'll have better games than he had last night, no doubt about it, and got caught in absolute no man's land. But I thought it was still very, very good from Martinelli to knock it past him and then stay calm. You could easily roll that wide in the situation, but he stayed calm, kept his eye on the ball and slotted it in. And 3-1 was the very minimum, I thought, of what Arsenal deserved in that game. I mean, you look at the stats there at the end of the game, Arsenal limited to Bayern Munich to basically nothing. The goal was by far and away their best chance that they created. And as I said, it was a brilliant goal. But other than that, it was very, very little. They were feeding on scraps in the second half. Arsenal were just dominant. The way if you looked at those stats at half time and then you look at them at full time, you just see how dominant Arsenal were in that second 45 minutes. Kimmich was talking after the game. I'm not sure if these quotes have been kind of taken a little bit out of context and lost in translation a little bit, but he was asked, the Arsenal, the toughest team that you faced this season. He said, no, PSG were, PSG play football. Arsenal was all about the set pieces and fighting and stuff like that. I would hope for a player as good and respectful as Joshua Kimmich that kind of was lost in translation, because yesterday wasn't about set pieces that Arsenal beat Bayern Munich. They beat them up all over the pitch. using set pieces, absolutely, but using open play as well. And the stats showed that at the end of the game. It was a thoroughly deserved win. And it was a real statement. The mood in the stadium afterwards, after Gabby scored the goal, and the mood afterwards when everyone was leaving and outside, I basically smiled for the last 10 minutes of that game. I just sat there smiling to myself, just thinking, we're really bloody good. And I just couldn't get the smile off my face thinking about it. It's like, it was 3 or 4 years ago, we could only have dreamed of where we are now, of what we're doing now. Top of the Premier League by a long way, top of the Champions League by a long way, only team with a 100% record, just played Bayern Munich off the park. And I just couldn't keep the smile off my face in the last 10 minutes. There's a long way to go. Nothing has been won, and it's going to be really difficult. And trust me, I am not getting carried away. I know if Arsenal are going to win anything this year, they are going to have to maintain these levels, improve these levels, stay strong. There's going to be difficult moments. They're going to lose games. It's going to be about how they bounce back from them. But for right now, when you look at how they're playing and what they're doing to good teams, they're a seriously impressive side under Mikel Arteta. And there was no surprise that he was absolutely delighted last night after the game. He said, first of all, I have to praise the players because I think they had an incredible match against, in my opinion, the best team in Europe. Individually, we were immense to resolve all the challenges that the teams bring to the table. After, yes, they know how hard we work to prepare for every single game. We know that the margins are super small. We started the week really well against Spurs, winning at home today. Today is another massive victory, but that's it. Now we go home, have a nice dinner, and tomorrow morning we start to prepare for Stamford Bridge. And I love that about Mikel. Everyone's getting carried away, sort of outside of Arsenal at the moment. Everyone's ready to sort of proclaim Arsenal the champions and saying Arsenal Champions League favourites and all that sort of stuff. Now, we're not even in December yet. It is just all about, and it might be boring, these sort of comments from Mikel, but it is absolutely the right way to go. If you haven't seen Declan Rice's interview he did with TNT yesterday, I watched it this morning. It was brilliant. And that's a player who was unreal last night, by the way. And I'll get to my player ratings in a minute. Unreal. But that's a player who has just got his head screwed on and just knows that, yes, things are going well at the moment, but there is still a hell of a long way to go. And Arsenal have to maintain these forms. And Mikel was asked how big a night was that for the club last night. He said, well, they're a top side. I think they haven't lost in 21 games. You can see the record, so you know the difficulty of it. We managed to do that in one game. That's great, and it shows as well the capacity we have. I'm very pleased as well that some of the players have been given the opportunity today with all the injuries that we have, the ones that started, the one that came on to finish the game. The impact was immense, and that's what we need. Everybody connected at that level. And he's right to point that out. Obviously, the substitutions made a big difference. Calafiori comes on, sets up the goal for Madueke, who'd also come on earlier after the injury to Trossard, which was the one slight downside of yesterday's game. We'll talk about that more in tomorrow's show, I'm sure. But it worked perfectly. And it was Saka had just come off at that point, and Madueke had switched over to the right-hand side. And there's Calafiori, the other sub, coming on and playing it to Madueke to score. And then Martinelli obviously coming on and scoring as well. So the subs made an absolute difference. The finishers, whatever it is you want to call them at the moment, but it's everyone playing for each other together at the moment. And that is what is so integral to this Arsenal team at the moment, that togetherness, everyone chipping in and making their mark. It was just brilliant to watch yesterday. Like I said, I couldn't keep a smile off my face after the game. And then when you look at the league table, it's like, why wouldn't you be smiling? I mean, look at that. As I said, not so long ago, just dreaming of that, failing to qualify for the Conference League even just like 5 years ago, then knocking about in the Europa for a couple of years. Now look at us, they're sort of 100% record, only team left in Europe with 100% record. Really good place to be. 5 wins from 5. Okay, player ratings wise now. This is what I've gone for from yesterday. So I gave Raya a 7. I think he only faced 2 shots on target, Raya. One of them was a goal. But his distribution was fantastic. There was one pass in the first half, which he just drilled low to, I think, Marino on the halfway line. It was just majestic from David Raya. I thought his distribution was excellent yesterday. And again, sort of coming and claiming crosses the way he always does. I thought it was a good performance from David Raya. So I gave him a 7. I gave Timber an 8. Obviously got the ball rolling with a goal. In the absence of Gabriel, we needed other people to step up to put away the types of delivery that we saw from Saka yesterday, which was just a world-class delivery. You need to get someone on the end of that. Usually it'd be Gabriel, of course. But in his absence, someone's got to step up, and it was brilliant to see Timber do that yesterday. And all-round performance I thought was great. It was also good to see him go off for about sort of 20 minutes or 15 minutes to go, whatever it was, and Ben White to come on and get some minutes. Saliba and Mosquera gave a 7. Interesting, Mikel went with Mosquera. He said afterwards, Hincapié obviously had a really demanding game against Spurs. He was tired after the game. He'd come back from playing twice for Ecuador, and that's good. If you're a little bit worried about someone overplaying a little bit, use the squad, and that's what Arsenal did. And I thought Mosquera was excellent yesterday. Harry Kane didn't have a shot. I think it's the first time in his career he didn't have a shot in a game against Arsenal. And I think Mosquera and Saliba were great. I mean, obviously a lot of the work was done in midfield because Bayern really sort of didn't create anything attacking wise other than the goal. But I thought Mosquera and Saliba were very, very strong, had a good performance. It was a tough night for Lewis Skelly. It was one kind of downside in terms of performance wise. I'm not going to dig him out. I gave him a 5. Got caught out for the goal, obviously. It was brilliant from Kimmich and it was brilliant from Gnabry. But he was caught out. He was caught out afterwards as well. I think it was when Pavlovic maybe went through and dragged his shot wide. There was another one in the second half as well when he got caught out and ended up Raya making a fairly comfortable save. But again, Lewis Skelly was just caught out. It was clearly an area that Bayern were looking to target. And it was a tough night for him. And he came off and Calafiori came on and made a big, big impact, obviously. But Lewis Skelly's not played that much. So that you're going to have this. Last time he played in the Champions League against Atletico Madrid, he was fantastic. He was brilliant. Last night, it was more of a difficult game for him. That's going to happen. He's a young player. He's not been playing much. So I'm not going to dig him out for it. It was good that he started. And he had a tough night, but he'll learn from that. So I gave him a 5. Midfielders I thought were brilliant. Zubimendi and Rice. Zubimendi I gave an 8. Martin Keown, I swear, was calling him Super Mendy afterwards when he was interviewing Declan Rice. Declan Rice was monstrous. Just a monstrous performance. So unlucky not to score in that second half when he drove in, had his left foot shot that Neuer made a save with his foot. How that didn't go in on the rebound from Saka, I have no idea. But Rice is just... I had a friend who I met before the game, and he went to the game yesterday. He's not actually an Arsenal fan. He went with his one of his best mates who's a big Arsenal fan. He had a spare ticket, and he took my mate. And he messaged me after the game, and he was just like, Declan Rice, oh my God, what a player. He was just unreal against such a brilliant midfielder. And again, his interview with TNT was fantastic, talking about the challenges of facing a team against Bayern Munich, the sort of the challenges that they bring in the first half with their rotations and how difficult that is to defend against and to get reference points on that you've kind of been working on. But the second half, Arsenal got to grips with that much, much better. And that was what led to the improved performance in the second half. It was just 5 minutes of brilliant talking about football from Declan Rice. So gave him a 9. Saka gave a 7. Great delivery for the first goal. Had one saved in the second half. Again, somehow didn't score the rebound from Declan Rice shots. As a brilliant assist for Martinelli. Very similar that to sort of pass the run that we saw against Manchester City leading to Martinelli's goal. Again, brilliant from Eze, who I actually thought had a really good game Eze in that position. So unlucky. Well, not unlucky because it was a bad finish, but the move that led to that chance in the first half when he brought the ball down, flicked it out to Marino, got it back, and then he just got his finish all wrong, but it would have been a worldie of a goal. So gave him an 8. Trossard can't really give much of a mark to because he wasn't on the pitch that long because of the injury. That's a real shame. Hopefully it's nothing too bad. Mikel saying afterwards in a press conference that he felt something and Arsenal didn't want to take any risks. Again, it'll be too early to really sort of determine what sort of injury and how bad that injury is. Marino, I thought, had a good game again, 7. I'm loving the way Arsenal, they're playing differently now with Marino up front. They're not playing the same way that we saw at times last season. I think they're working to his strengths more and they're making sure that Eze, Saka, Martinelli, whoever it is on the pitch, Madueke, Trossard when he's on the pitch, are getting beyond Marino. He's very much now playing really as a false 9. He's not the furthest player up the pitch at all. I think it's been a real tactical shift over the last few weeks from Arsenal. And it's worked. And I think it's contributing to Arsenal playing some fantastic football. Marino's doing very well. So I gave him a 7 yesterday. Subs that came on, brilliant to see Odegaard back on. Obviously, Madueke and Calafiori made a huge difference. Calafiori setting up the goal for Madueke. I'll give those two a 7. Martinelli, obviously, with a goal as well, give him a 7. Odegaard and White, sorry, not on for that long yesterday, but still great that they got minutes. And the cheer for Odegaard made it very clear how much he has been missed. So those are my player ratings for last night's game. Right, lots of you have been getting in touch at the moment, so I'm going to go through what some of you guys have been saying across the Discord for Patreon members and YouTube as well. Mr. AK says PSV 4. Can we give Mikel some props? What's PSV 4 about? I'm not sure. Oh, the Liverpool game. Yeah, that's a mad result. Absolutely mad result. The defending from Liverpool in that game. Oh my goodness, what is going on with Virgil van Dijk at the moment? But yeah, you said, can we give Mikel some props? 3 subs, 1 assist, 2 goals. Yeah, brilliant night for Mikel Arteta in that second half. Ricky says, Declan Rice horse, more of a thoroughbred. Teb W says, hey, Charles, in spite of our fantastic form, there's still nervousness about our prospects. Perhaps we're scarred by 3 years of second again, LA. Talking to fans of other clubs, I've sought out lots of Spurs fans this week for their opinion, and they are in awe of Arsenal. My question, are Arsenal fans the only people who don't realise how good this team is? I think we do realise how good this team is. Like I was saying yesterday, I spent the last 10 minutes of the game just smiling to myself about how good we are. But I'm also very, very aware, and I think a lot of people are very, very aware that we're not even in December yet. There's so much football to be played. Arsenal are going to lose games. They're going to have difficult moments between now and May, and the gap is going to close, and pressure is going to mount. And I'm very, very aware of that. This is football. It's not all plain sailing. I would love Arsenal just to steamroller through the season from this point onwards and win it. Who knows? Maybe it will happen, but it's very unlikely. Come on, let's be truthful here. It's very unlikely. And so I think I don't think it's that we don't realize how good we are. I think everyone is aware of how good this team is. It's impossible not to know. You can see it week in, week out. But I think there's also a very, everyone fully knows that there is a long way to go and anything can still happen at this point. So they're not getting carried away. And I think that's the right approach to really take, I have to say. Irish Gugner says, hey, Charles, just want to touch on Marino. If Gyökeres is back for the weekend, I would actually like to see Marino start up front again. He plays in this free roaming 9 position. It just frees up our attacking players. If you look back at the start of the season and really up until Sunderland, our attack was a bit shy and only came to life recently. Also, he's a big aerial threat. Incredible player. Yeah, I'll probably be disappointed he didn't score yesterday, Marino. Had a couple of good chances, especially the one that he put wide from the set piece. Put one straight at the goalkeeper as well. But look, I think even if Gyökeres is fit, I think Marino will start now. I think Gyökeres has been out probably long enough that he's not going to go straight back into the starting 11. Arsenal will sort of try and ease him back in. Ultimately, as the season progresses, he will go back to being Arsenal's number 9. That's what he's been signed for. But Marino, as you say, incredible player, and he deserves huge amounts of credit for what he's doing. And I'm really enjoying the way Arsenal are playing now, with him as this real sort of false deep lying 9 and the players getting beyond him and attacking. And it's only going to improve with the injured players coming back as well. John says, fabulous performance last night. One of the very best performances I've seen from Arsenal against a very high quality team like Bayern. I was worried about losing Gabriel to injury. We have amazing cover. Who could possibly replace Rice? Every time he plays Champions League, he wins player of the match. We have no one like him. Yeah, he is a one-off. There is absolutely no doubt about that. What a performance. Adward says, hey, Charles, regarding recent conversations regarding Ben White's game time, with Timber putting in these sort of performances day in, day out, how does White get a sniff? Surely his Timber is undroppable at the moment. How does Arteta balance his load and bring that he brings to the team? Incredible player. Well, like I said, I liked what I saw last night. Get 70, 75 minutes, take him off, bring Ben White on. That's good. That's what you want. You give Ben White some good minutes, and you mean that Timber's not playing 90 minutes. That's what I want to see from Arteta. And then every so often, switch them round, give Ben White the start. Brentford next week, for me, is a good opportunity to start Ben White and give Jurrien Timber a rest. That's what I want to see from Arteta when it comes to Jurrien Timber. I liked what he did with Mosquera yesterday in Hincapié, and I want to see that more with what they do on the right-hand side of the fence. Chris says, hi, Charles. Nice to briefly meet you on the way into the station after last night's game. Fantastic result and performance. Yeah, good to meet you, Chris. Slightly off topic, but I believe Carabao Cup could be vitally important this season. I believe the only thing stopping us winning the league is a potential mental collapse come the end of the season. If we win the Carabao Cup in March, that would be a huge boost going into the pointy end of the season. Imagine having a trophy in the cabinet when the pressure is on. I believe only a League Cup. Although only a League Cup, having already won something would take the pressure off. Yeah, I agree, which is why I want to win that competition. I've spoken about it before. That I think it'd be a really, really big thing for Arsenal to win. And if you could have that safely tucked away come February, March, whenever the final is, then and you know how to win and get over to the line, and you have that muscle memory of holding a trophy. I think that's going to help you. I really, really do. Beverly says, good morning, Charles, and what a good morning it is. Like you, I was nervous about last night's game, but we did it again. Another convincing win. We're performing like this, still have important players sidelined. If we can keep the rest of the team fit and healthy, what are we able to achieve with a fully fit team? The Emirates is becoming one of those grounds opposition are going to be fearful to come to. Absolutely. Finally, couple more here. Charlie says another outstanding performance. This is a serious team, Charles. Amazing impact from the subs. Rice was masterful. Timber again showing he's the best fullback in Europe. Only negative was a very concerning performance by MLS, who looked way off the pace. McCormick says we've started to play some of the best football with Mourinho up front. I wonder if he'll continue to play when everyone is fit. I don't think so. Not when everyone's fit. Ryan says been saying for weeks that Munich will be the big test and perfect chance to see where we are. Turns out we're the best team in Europe. Martinelli through the middle is such a real option. Yeah, I wish we'd explored it more. Tonight's goal, Man City, both brilliant. Eze assist, finding a run. Brilliant performance all round, almost all from all. Night to forget for Lewis Skelly, but luckily we were good enough to bear the weight. Over the moon. Who stops us now? Well, that is the question. Who stops us now? Hopefully no one. Hopefully no one, but we'll wait and see. As I said, a long way to go. Right, that is it from me today. Sorry, I bet I look an absolute state, worse than I usually do, so apologies for that, and I hope the voice is not being too croaky. I'm going to go and veg out on the sofa for the rest of the day. I will be back tomorrow with the usual show, and also for Patreon members, we'll be recording the Press Pass show as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Until then, take it easy, everyone. Enjoy the game. Enjoy watching the highlights, whatever it is you've got to do tonight from last night. And yeah, I'll speak to you very, very soon. Bye-bye.